Hello and welcome to All Things Foster, a place for coffee, connection, and community. Today, I'm super excited to have Eileen Noyes on to share with us. She reached out, and I was super interested in the things that she does and has to say. But before we get into that, I do want to thank our episode sponsor. Golden Creation Coffee is a small batch roastery rooted in the Texas Panhandle and roasted right here in Amarillo. Founded by Canyon native Matt Wright, it all started with a simple love for great coffee, loyal dogs, and the wide open spirit of West Texas. Named after the real gold behind the beans, our golden retrievers, Biscuit and Gravy, Golden Creation Coffee is built on connection, care, and a whole lot of tail-wagging joy. We roast ethically sourced beans from around the world in small batches to highlight every origin's unique story and flavor. From the tasty and smooth Barkfest blend to the deep, bold espresso blend, every roast is crafted with intention and authenticity. Around here, good coffee and good dogs make life golden. Learn more and grab your new favorite single origin beans and blends roasted at goldencreationcoffee.com. And guys, I'll tell you, and I say this with a lot of our sponsors. I ran into these guys at a vendor show, and he was giving out samples of this coffee, and I was like, oh my gosh, this stuff is good. And so we use it when we roast. When we do our coffee on here, we use it. It's great coffee. So anyway, so check them out at goldencreationcoffee.com. But back to Eileen. And so Eileen, give us a little bit about kind of who you are, what's brought you to where you're at today.
Well, in connection with foster parenting, this is like the shock factor. I have a 15 in a blended family. So I have 8 of my own. My husband, who we've only been married for 4 years. Only when you have 15, it is definitely an only. So he has 7 of his own. Yes. Yeah. So my kids range from 7 to 22. His are 13 to 30. Yeah. And so, so I just thought, gosh, like what a connection. Parenting is parenting. And like I said to you, we're adopted into the family of Christ. And so we're all kids. And so I just have a heart, one, as a mom, I love that I'm put in opportunity. Of course, you never want divorce and all those things, but when you're in this situation, I'm so thankful to be mom, but to see the dynamics of being a stepmom, a mom-in-law. Sometimes I'm like, which way? What is she again? Is she a step or is she an in-law? But I love the fact that I have relationship dynamics that I see growing, that are in different places, and it keeps me anchored to God, because He's the ultimate parent. And so my journey has been, man, the reason why we are in a situation. Of course, we always have to address the divorce. I was married to a man who is a very outspoken Christian man. We wanted to raise our kids in the ways of the Lord. Unfortunately, this teaching it's actually a Black Hebrew Israelites influence teaching, where it says that women aren't created in the image of God, and her role is to cook and clean and have babies. And so all that we had done in this biblical covenant relationship went awry. And so I was left as a single mom of 8. And, so obviously that was hard. And who would have thought, like, I never would have guessed that I was going to be, married to someone who had almost as many as me. And the funny thing is we met online. And that was the one thing that was intriguing with us, because my prayer was like, God, can you just send me a Michael, like an angel, kind of like an angel, just with no issues, no issues, no nothing. Like he would just plop down and be this like perfect husband to take on us. And he was a Michael for sure. So God answered that part. But so I'm doing a podcast like you, reaching out to women who I look at moms, especially wives and moms. We're family devoted women who kind of lose ourselves in the shuffle of life and kids and all the things. And so my heart is to stir her on that, one, she has a voice, two, that she has a purpose inside and outside of the home, bigger than what she thinks. And so obviously parenting is, included in all that. Written 2 books. I'm on the 3rd one, Proverbs 31 devotional. So yeah, my thing is I love the Lord, and my desire is to raise my kids in the ways of the Lord, and really, to spur other women to do that too. Because I think when the world is shouting so much, when there's so much noise, that kind of, puts down or even highlights just the way that a secular woman should be. It's hard to not grow weary as you're a mom who is trying to do the right thing, trying to be the submissive woman, the gentle, quiet spirit, the one who puts herself, out there for everything. She just needs that refresher. She needs that encouragement. So
yeah, and mom, in whatever role, whether it's bio or step or adopted or whatever it is, mom is a critical person to speak into the lives of these kiddos, and obviously being a wife too is critical. And so it's really neat that you've kind of focused it in on kind of helping moms do that and be that.
Yeah, for sure.
So you founded the Unsidelined Life. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So initially, so with my ex, one thing, I don't know if I mentioned it here, but he used to be part of the NFL. So that puts a whole other layer of pressure, expectation. When we went through that crazy time, that just escalated things even more. So when you're going through something like this, where you're literally, where there's like, what's the word I'm looking for? When there's like something like cult involvement, things like that, I didn't know where to turn, because I'm thinking, I don't want this to get out in the open. So to go through something like that in that environment, that was, again, a whole other layer of, issues. So when I went through this hard time in the public eye, I told you this beforehand, I was praying. I'm like, God, if I have to go through this, get glory, make something of it, let it not be in vain. And so through the process of, just surviving as the single mom, getting through being mom and dad, and then getting to the point of stabilizing, then getting remarried, and then, feeling like there's this point of thriving, this opportunity of the podcast came up. And so for me, the Unsidelined Life started with me kind of highlighting pro athlete wives, the behind the scenes, because as a whole, especially if you look at social media, it looks like glitz and glamour. I believe that these young girls are they probably feel pressure to live up to that. I have everything going, and it's all about the bling and the designer this and designer that. Well, as a Christian wife in that world, it's like it's hard to navigate that, because the world is telling you got to look like this, you got to act like this, and there's an element of the Christian woman being behind the scenes and doing all the things, and her needing to be okay that she doesn't fit this mold that the world portrays. And so that's what I was doing. It was really going, what? There's this stereotype that we're all gold diggers. And so I wanted to, just kind of bring to light the different things. So that was last season. And so it was a lot of that element, but also really just highlighting the woman, again, who puts herself aside. So, and just kind of stops life, puts a pause on things, and is everything for everybody. So it's the same, message, but on a different scale. And then this year, as I was starting, I felt like God was saying, hey, you need to broaden out, that I'm not just talking to the pro athlete wives. And so this whole theme this year is the Proverbs 31 woman, who I believe is super, when you don't understand, which I didn't, she could be very, what's that word I'm looking for? It's almost like I can't live up to her, It could
Yes,
very
it's idealized.
yes, totally.
Yeah, very much.
And so I remember when I was young in my marriage, I was like, I don't want to read that because I can't live up to her. But in my 50s now, God has given me wisdom and he's shown me, Eileen, you are her. It's not going to look like that. And so the principles that you pull out of that whole thing, it's just amazing. And it can be so encouraging when you see it through a different lens. So, so that's what I'm doing is all of this this season is really going verse by verse through Proverbs 31. So it's been really fun.
That's cool. And so, what would you say? Well, first of all, what does the chaos look like in this big family? I mean, how do you navigate that? What does that look like?
Chaos.
Oh,
chaos. Oh, yeah, I see that too.
What happened
there? Can you see me still?
Yeah, I think it's going now.
Okay, good.
So, what does the chaos look like in this great big family?
And chaos looks. It's seasonal, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would say that right now. Okay, and just so I know I told you, but we've never had all 15. There's a lot of kids that are older. There's grandkids in the mix right now. And so chaos there's different seasons of chaos and there's different chaos. Mm-hmm. So I think summer is always crazy. There was a time when we had all 8 of mine and we had 2 of his. And so that can get crazy. And I love it. Here's the thing. The blessing is the younger kids. I mean, all the ones that we interact with. So mostly the 2 oldest, so 30 and 27, I believe is his oldest, and his youngest, 13 and 16. It's when they're here, everything is great. But chaos could be a whole lot of mess. It could be like some kids having no beds. It could be, different kids sleeping with us, the younger ones sleeping with us so that there's more room.
Yeah.
A lot of different messes. So there's that mess. There's also financial parts that are, that's chaos that they probably don't see, but as parents you feel. I definitely feel for my husband who in his mind, I think spiritually, right? As a mom, there's always a spiritual component. Okay, we got to pray, seek God first, all things will be added. But really, as a man, and understandably so, there's an element of going, I got to feed my family of 15, and his mind goes to college and weddings and all these things that I probably don't think about. And so there's a lot of pressure there. So that can get pretty chaotic because, if we're thinking about that, I mean, college, all those things, it can get crazy, and the chaos which has happened, it can turn into friction, to be quite honest, friction with us, lack of connection because of that stress. So so it comes in waves. It's not like a bunch of little 15-year-old, like little ones running around. It just comes in different places and different phases and stages.
Yeah, I can't, golly, I don't even want to imagine trying to pay for 15 kids college.
I know.
I'm not sure Bill Gates could do that. So what have you learned, would you think, kind of the key of identity and that calling and trusting God through this craziness of life?
Well, I think about, God has been my anchor through it all.
Sure.
And like I said, I never in a million years thought I would be divorced. And so the first thing that I had to anchor in is, just because I'm in that situation doesn't mean that I'm discarded or less than. And I really had to work through that.
No doubt.
And so that was a big part. But then seeing as it comes to, and this theme of, like kids that aren't mine biologically, I had to understand that in my case, they already have their mom there.
Sure.
100, like full time. And so I had to really approach and ask God for guidance that one, that mom is not intimidated, and two, that I come in a way where they know that I'm not trying to take over, that I'm not trying to compete. And so the beauty of it has been just having that be my guide has kind of kept things at peace. And I love it. I mean, I will say that I have my 16-year-old, gosh, is she a step? See, always, yeah, she's my stepdaughter, right? She's just my daughter.
Yeah.
And when we were talking about, when she was here last and she was going back and flying to Chicago, I don't know, we just got into this conversation where I was like, you know what? I said, I felt bad. I felt like I took your dad all the way to California, even though it was obviously a mutual decision.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about that. And she said, you know what? She goes, this is actually the best case scenario. She's like, because you're mom material. She's like, all the other ones that my dad was looking at, like, oh, we couldn't imagine her. And, and then, or couldn't imagine any of them. And then she said, you know what? We love, like kids, we love coming out here. So that was huge. That was an encouragement. And then also just having the older daughter. So one is my stepdaughter and one is my actual in-law. So it is my stepson's wife. For them to call me and to say, hey, can you pray? I'm having a hard time. Like that just makes parenting and, the chaos and the hard, it makes it worth it going, God, you have something bigger and it's generational. And so that's been such an amazing thing to be in the situation.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, you do have to, trust that the Lord's in control and he's going to work things out. And to be able to be that, that kind of that anchor, that foundation for kiddos and being able to get on the phone and, I need you to pray. Right.
Yeah. That's been such a blessing for me.
Yeah. Because moms have a huge vital role to play in the family and in the children's lives. And so to be able to face that and do well is not, it's not any kind of easy, and so that's cool. Very cool. So what's one of the biggest struggles?
In parenting, in terms of what?
In terms of parenting all these kiddos.
Okay, let's see. I think in situations like this, which can probably tie it over, it's like compensating or feeling like, for the case with my kids, their father wasn't there. And so there's the wanting to overdo it in certain areas where, for example, with the discipline, in this situation, discipline was huge. And almost when cult influence came involved, it was too much and their voices weren't heard. And so, and just in divorce, right? And even a situation like that, where you want to make up for those losses and those hurts. And so there's sometimes a pendulum swing where it's like, okay, I know you guys got disciplined. I know that, your voices weren't heard. Okay, well, and it was super strict, super clean house all the time. Well, the extreme is, okay, I want to give you your voice. I give you too much and the house is a complete mess. And it's like, you got to pull the reins back in because, so we're talking, I don't know, as a foster, I'm sure that there's that parts of like, hey, like because of the hurt or the background that you came from, there's probably this thing where you just want to, and it comes from a good place where you want to give and you want to do things. So it's really finding like, are the things that I'm desiring to do right now, is that because I feel am I trying to make myself feel better, or is this really going to be beneficial for this child? So it's those things that can be, really challenging. I think that in the area of my husband, I put a lot of pressure on him to be the one who makes up for what their father isn't there for. And so that caused a lot of friction too. And so that's definitely something that I had to pull back and go, you know what, Lord, you are ultimately their father. Like I have to understand that this is a process and that I can't keep hovering over and trying to like make all these relationship dynamics. So there's a lot of times where I know I couldn't force myself on, his kids or anything like that. But at the same time, I was kind of thinking like, hey, you gotta bond with, mine. So it's a lot of like wisdom and coaching that. And when I say coaching, it's things of, I think that's part of being a helper, is not in a leading way, but wives as a helpmate, we are supposed to give insight to where our husbands don't see. So my role is to say, hey, you know what, like our daughter, she needs to hear like that she's beautiful. It's got to come from you.
Yeah.
Or, like, hey, let's pull back on the reins with this situation. So she's kind of she fills in the gaps that he may not see because again, he's different. He's focusing on other things. Yeah. And so that's, the pieces. And even with his own kids, when they come here, like, hey, make time for them. Like you got, like make sure that you're spending time with them. Make sure that you also, just that thing of him feeling bad that he's not around his kids that much. It could be that there's that overcompensating, like, okay, I gotta gift them up. It's like, hey, spend time with them. So just things like that.
Yeah. So biggest blessing.
What's the biggest blessing?
Biggest blessing.
Seeing answered prayer. So our, like I said, the stepdaughter, the oldest stepdaughter, she just had her first. And so the baby's now 9 months. But I remember those conversations where my husband would come to me and say, oh my gosh, we got to pray for, her name is Simone. But, when Naomi first got pregnant, there was a diagnosis that there was a hole in her heart. And so I know, just because of what I went through, and just I've experienced how good and powerful God is and what authority we have in Christ. And I felt it was a big part of my role to be able to say, you know what, the doctor says this, but we don't have to receive it. We keep praying. And so for me, I just felt this role of really leading the charge to just pray against that and to thank God for her healed heart and all these things. So now she's 9 months, she doesn't have to have surgery. And so it was a true miracle. And so for me to have that, opportunity to kind of do that, it's the gift of saying, wow, this is hitting next generation, like literally hitting the next generation of life. So
yeah, that's cool. So how do you try to find balance? What does that look like in all the roles? How do you try to find that balance? What do you do?
A couple things is one, I don't know if balance is even a thing. Someone asked me that before. There's never balance, because if you think of balance as all things like kind of being equal, it's just not a thing. I always pray, especially as I step out into the different roles and the different things where I'm like, I love to use what I went through to help other women, inspire other women to write and all these things. My prayer has always been, God, keep my priorities straight. Help me that I don't ever get to where, these things, I get so caught up in these things that I have my priorities off, or that my family is kind of like this burden. And every time I get close, he has a way of nudging me back in. So that is one, is a prayer that I always have my priorities straight. The second thing is for me, and what God has just kind of nudged me into, is the fact that for me, I have to get up early. I mean, there's no way around it. And it's not to have, because at one time, I think as a Christian mom, we think that we've got to get up early and we got to be on our knees. And sometimes it looks like that. But for me right now, with all that's going on, God woke me up at 3:56. Like, it was just like constant. I'm like, okay, let me just get up. And so right now for me, my time is I wake up, I go in the kitchen, I start boiling my coffee for my water for my coffee. I'll turn on Christian music. I'll light a candle, and I use that time and I'll put on low. So, but the time that my water is boiling, I'm praying, I'm tidying up, and I'm just kind of setting, like, just knowing as I have my praise music on, it's like I'm creating this atmosphere of peace as I'm praying. Then I get to sit down. I do have time with, God, and I'll be, for sure, because I'm human, I gotta like make sure I am intentional to not turn on my phone or the scrolling, all those things.
Yeah.
But it is, it's like choosing God, just choosing to, yes, have that time where I do. It doesn't start right away on my knees, but it's praying, it's reading the Bible, it's having that time that is mine. So that for me can be about 2 hours of just having my time without distractions. And then before my kids get up, it's when they're up. The Proverbs 31 actually talks about this. It says she is all her dealings are profitable. And so when you think of that just for face value, you think, oh, she's looking for deals and discounts, and she's trying to make a profit. But for me, when God had broken that down, it was, what does dealings mean? I mean, look up dealings. Dealings is interactions. It means, concerns. So I was just talking about like really any interactions, relationships, all these things. And then I looked up profitable. It's beneficial, useful. So that opened up my thing to go, okay, everything that I do should be of benefit, or how can I make this most profitable? And so I take multitasking when I can, and when it's appropriate. I feel like I utilize my time so much better, and so much of it is renewing my mind with the word, or praying, like I said, or because I'm into this thing of now coaching entrepreneurship. That's where if I'm doing laundry, because it's very much part of our world, washing dishes, all that. That's where I want to make sure that I'm doing something else productive, that I'm stimulating my brain. Because if I don't do that, I can definitely get into the victim mode. I can definitely be irritated, things like, all this laundry, so it's just really making the most of my time.
Awesome. Very cool. So, what wisdom would you share for foster, for just families? I mean, my family is a blended family too. What wisdom would you share to somebody that's got kiddos from different backgrounds, whether it's foster, adopt, or step, or whatever?
Yeah. You know what? For me, the biggest wisdom is asking God for wisdom, because that's what it says. I know you said you're in James. God says that, for anyone who asks for wisdom, I will give it to you without regret. Yeah. And so that is the biggest thing, is seeking God for that. What was the other part of your question? Can you say your question again?
Well, just wisdom in loving kiddos from different backgrounds.
Gotcha. Okay. So when you allow God to parent, and so for me, when my identity was rocked, when I thought I wasn't created in his image as a daughter, I had totally lost sight. I mean, it was like something that was so foundational, but when you hear it over and over, you're not creating the image of God. Because you're not creating the image of God, God doesn't hear you. God had to really hone in to tell me through his word, you are my daughter. You are created in my image. I have created you for a purpose. So that anchoring in who we are in Christ is everything. Now, when it comes to just parenting, and we had talked about this earlier a little bit, off air, is one thing of wisdom that I felt like God has given me is the power of our words. And, I think when it comes to foster kids, or kids that are put up for adoption, or step kids, there is one thing that really got was through this program called Life Skills. One of the things that stuck out is they would say that all kids take responsibility for all losses all the time.
Mm.
And so there's just this thing, whether it's divorce, whether it's abuse, the spirit of rejection is the biggest wound of all of them. That is, we have the ability to be able to speak into the subconscious mind, even if the conscious mind doesn't know that. So as a parent, to know that she can say to her kids, and she or he has to say it a lot, is, you are loved, you are valued, you're protected now, because whatever it is, whether it's that child in foster care again, or if it's adopted, if they're in an adoption situation, there's something in them that thinks, I wasn't lovable enough. I wasn't valued enough to be kept by my parents. And so for us to be able to speak into that, so that we can, and also pray against that spirit of rejection. I think these are opportunities for us to know that we are planting seeds in their subconscious mind, that we keep doing that, and we keep telling them that they're loved, and we keep reminding them that it wasn't their fault and that they are safe. Those are the things that I think that we can fill in those gaps that their subconscious just automatically assumes. And so to keep, just to keep like doing that, I think that's major wisdom for a parent, because I'm sure I've not been in that kind of situation, but I've seen it, and I know that it could be super hard. And there's the battles of a kid almost sabotaging the relationship with the parent because of a spirit of rejection that they just know it's just part of me, so.
Oh, very much. Yeah, very much. We do these placement packages for kiddos coming into foster care. And one of the things we started doing about a year ago, I don't know if you know what a challenge coin is. It's a military thing, these big heavy coins. Different commanders would get them made and stuff. So anyways, we got them made. And on one side, and we give them to all these kids, it just says, I am valuable and loved, right? And it's this big heavy coin that they hopefully will carry in their pockets, just as a reminder that I am valued and loved, because there is. I mean, it's well, what's wrong with me? Why didn't they want me, or that kind of thing? And so, yeah, very cool. So how have you learned to let go of that control of whatever's going on and let God have it? What does that look like for you?
How does that look? It is really looking at what it is that I'm fearing. So I'll give an example, because I never saw myself as a controlling person, and I'm pretty laid back. I'm the one that is like, hey, if you ask me where I want to eat or really anything, I mean, I am pretty laid back. Just as a mom, my kids know I'm laid back and things like that. It was my second marriage where I didn't realize how controlling I was trying to be with my spouse. I say that with, and this will, I know, I'm hoping that this will apply to just the way that whole thing, that, just different messages and subconscious thoughts come into play, is I put so much expectation on him to be this perfect father. Right? I told you that, to kind of make up for things. Or even with me, I had this underlying message that I didn't realize carried over. And when I finally put it into words, it was crazy. It was all men who I put my trust in eventually betray me or leave me. And so I was setting myself up again, because the second time I got married, again, it wasn't in words, but I really felt like I put no stock in it, or I felt like, well, he's probably going to leave me too, or I need to make sure I protect my kids. So I had to come to this awareness and break that off. And I realized, oh my gosh, this controlling behavior in my marriage came from that fear, that trauma. And once I dealt with like, okay, this is a lie here, that all men who I put my trust in, they betray me. I had to look for evidence to show me, okay, no, thank God my 7 boys love me. They're there for me. There's, the guy who led me to the Lord. I mean, so I was able to pull and go, no, that's not true.
Yeah.
And so when you break off these lies and you shatter these lies, and then you just go through your own healing, that opened up a space for me to just verbalize again, my husband loves me. He's here. And so that helped me to, I mean, just breaking off those fears, it just allowed me to just go, okay, you know what? Like, yeah, I don't need to try to keep something here or control things because I'm scared of this or that. So addressing a fears, I think, is a big part of it.
I love that. How you talk, you try to control the things that you have fear over. That's, man, that's deep. That's really good. Yeah, because that does sum it up, where we're, I'm terrified that this is going to happen, so I'm going to control it.
Yeah.
Right? When ultimately we don't have any control anyways.
No.
I mean, it's just an illusion anyways. But so letting God have control of that and letting go of that fear. I mean, man, that can be so powerful. So powerful. Yeah, because I mean, we in this space, we see the hurt and things that are done, and so we're so afraid that the kids are just, they're not going to heal, they're not going to develop good relationships, they're not this and that and stuff like that. And so we try to control all these things, but letting go and letting go of that fear and let God have that control. That's just really powerful. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it is. It's definitely, I think that when we slow down enough and we, we just take God's word, and I don't know, I think if we contrast it with our behavior, it kind of reveals, wow, this is where I am lacking trust in you, God. Because, when it comes to the kids, with all the things, ultimately, I mean, really, if I think about it, like, wait, God, as much as I love them, you love them way more than I do.
Yeah.
And I know you've done that before.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I have to, I do what you call me to do, and I give them to you. I lift them up to you. And one scripture for me sticks out, whether it's my marriage, it's my kids, it's, Lord, I commit this to you. I commit this child to you. I commit these things to you, because you will protect and keep that which I give to you, or that which I commit to you. So I anchor. God's promises are huge when it comes to parenting. Is like, Lord, you said.
Yeah, man, I love that. Yeah, that's so good. So, what's the importance of community for you?
Oh gosh, community is everything. And again, here's the scripture. It says, you confess your sins, and not your sins, but your issues to one another, that you may be healed. I know for me, it was, I went through 3 or 4 years of really not letting anybody in, because like I said, I was trying to protect everybody else and protect my husband when we were going through these hard times. And so when I isolated myself, that's when the devil had a field day.
Yeah.
So community is huge. Community started for me with 5 people, and then it turned into, when things got out, it turned into, our church community. And community is everything, but it's the right community. It's someone who, or people who are like-minded. Again, if we're talking about our faith, thank God for that, because those are the anchors that, that keep us back to truth. Not the lies, not the victim, not the revenge, not the things that the world says, but a community that gets you in the right direction.
Sure. Yeah, that's why, I mean, I say this a lot here on the podcast, but we do better in community, and especially when people with like values and like-minded, and we benefit so much when we're part of a community that gets us, that understands, that's walking through it with you.
For sure. Yeah, the bearing of each other's burdens, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And so what is a moment where you saw God clearly guiding you in a direction?
So many. One thing that sticks out to me, which it was my own kid, and this again goes to, this whole thing of, you have this family that you know of or lack of family, and the dynamics, the blending of families, the fostering, there's just a lot of unknowns there. And so I just remember when I was going into this remarriage, I was one son. Right now he's my 15-year-old. He really struggled at around the age of 7 or 8 with this. And as we were talking, and as we were just talking about, because we were getting close to the marriage, I don't remember what happened, but he says, "Are you going to leave us too?" And I was like, whoa, oh my gosh, this thing of, it was a trigger. It was a situation. It was in his subconscious mind. My dad left us. Are you, Mom, going to leave us? And so that was really a time of going, okay, like, God, you have to lead me in this. So I knew there that I was talking to not just whatever situation it was, it had to go deep. And so, oh my gosh, no, I'm not going anywhere. And you were never the thing that caused this, because like, man, when God is even in it and, you're calling out his word, I just, just to be able to teach my kids, you guys, we're coming in faith, we're praying, we're believing for mountains to move. And when they don't move, what do you say? How do you teach your kids that? Because ultimately we have free will. So I had to teach them all about these things, but getting to that core, it's like, no, I'm not leaving you. I'm not going anywhere. And so to be able to like have God speak to me, to this child, it was just one of many situations where I was able to just know, okay, he's going to be okay. And the cool thing was, after we got back from our wedding, him of all, it was just an 8-year-old, just a letter on the garage door that was like, Mike, to my husband, he's like, Michael, he's like, I'm sorry. This is like an 8-year-old. I'm sorry that I was a little hard on you, but I see how my mom is with you. And I know things are, it was just an encouraging letter. So that right there just made me go, you know what, God, like, you're in this, your hand is on this, everything's going to be okay. And that's what God's word says. Even as hard as it still gets, God, your word says that you're going to work all things out for the good of those who love you and who are called according to your purpose. So I'm going to, trust that.
Wow, that's awesome. So, what does trusting God look like for you in a daily basis?
Trusting God with my kids. Trusting God, when I say that, it is in the stages and ages that they are. So for example, when I look at, like, gosh, they're all in different stages, right? And I look at my older 3. So my older 3, who are now 22, 21, and 19, when things were the craziest, when we were going through the divorce and stuff like that, they were 15, 13, and 11. And, just something which is super important to them is football. They want to play football. And so their lives at that time were on hold for 3 or 4 years. And how, you fast forward to when they're in high school and things like that, because of what happened, they lost out on time. They lost out on opportunities. And so you have these big athletic kids, right, that were just behind in terms of experience and knowledge. And there was that bitterness for a while to go, and he's not there for them, So trust comes in this way. God, even in this situation, what's best for them. Your word says, because I can really, that's hard for me, to see that when your kids want something so bad, but to say, Lord, you are going to give us back what the locusts have stolen. I don't know how it's going to look, but this is not in vain, even for them. You're building their character, so it's taking on, gosh, a mom's heart looks at every one of our kids, and it's like, not only is she dealing with her own emotions, but anything and everything that the kids are going through, she absorbs it like hers. And so for me, trust is just, it's really Isaiah 26:3. I know you, I don't know how all your guests are, and I don't know if it's like a Christian show, but to me, like God's word is just, that's what fills me. And that's what keeps me anchored. So Isaiah 26:3 is, you'll keep him or her in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on you. And so with all the chaos that can go on, Isaiah 26:3, is that what you're asking? Yeah. You will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on you, because he trusts you.
I like that. So, Isaiah 26:3.
Yeah, Isaiah 26:3. And so for me, when I am tempted to dwell, whatever it is, whether it's work, whether it's my husband, I always anchor back to that. If I'm looking around and I'm looking at my circumstances, for sure I can get frazzled. But ultimately it's, okay, God, let me get my eyes back on you, because you are working where I don't see you. You know, you're working behind the scenes. You're doing exceedingly and abundantly more than I can ask or imagine. And so I just trust that. So really for me, I mean, that's what grounds me is I'm really his word, you know, because it's just, there's so much, you know, there's so much. And for me, when I think so much, when I'm talking about my 7-year-old and his little issues of not having anybody to boss around, or, you know, just things like that, to the 20-year-old, 22-year-old who's, you know, still finding his purpose. There's just so much that my heart can, you know, go through. But so that's why for me, it's like, it has to be anchored in his word. And again, like those calling out those promises, those keep me sane and at peace.
So talk to us about your coaching. What does that look like?
Oh gosh, I just started. So I do a lot of mentoring. I've done seasonal, like different coaching, but now it is starting. It goes in 3-month stages. So it's this program. It's called Healed Mom, Restored Home. And so it's a 90-day experience transforming her spirit, her soul, and her body. And so what God had showed me actually in the beginning of summer, it was him kind of taking me through this whole cleaning house, like literally cleaning of my house. But long story short, he took this process and he showed me, okay, Eileen, one, you need to address your messes. What serves you? You know, if you're looking and you're getting rid of stuff, what are you holding on to that is not serving you anymore? What places are you not dealing with that you're trying to avoid, that you're trying to procrastinate? So let's deal with the messes so that we can heal the messes. After you do that, you're creating order and function. Systems, what systems? And again, I'm talking about your spirit, soul, and your body. And then you get to this place of maintenance. And through that whole process, and I'm totally giving you a fast version, through the whole process of me doing that, he showed me the order of what he did things. But then he said, Eileen, now I want you to turn your home into a sanctuary of my peace and my glory and my presence. And then as we were talking about that, he said, Eileen, you know, I'm not just talking about this house, right? And so he was talking about me. And so just, I'm seeing how much that process is, whether you're talking finances, whether you're talking about your health, so much of what we don't do is we try to bypass the mess and go to that next thing, whether it's our purpose or, you know, whatever. So we want to do all these things, but like, wait, no, we have to address these messes that are here so that we can function better, so that we're in proper order, so that we can get to this place of like, okay, this is how it's supposed to look. I'll give you an example real quick. My body, I had hip problems for the longest time, and I would just work through it. I'd work out and do all these things, and it was getting so bad I couldn't walk with my kids. I finally had to address it. And the issue was my hip was bone on bone. I had to get hip replacement.
Yeah.
I had hip replacement. So once I had that, once I addressed the mess, I healed from it, I was able to work out. I was able to get my body, like my muscles were so off because of compensation. Things are starting to work properly. To now that is affecting everything. So my health is better. And now I was able to lose the weight that I gained. And so now I'm at this place of maintenance. And so it's just like, oh my gosh, when he showed me that, but he showed me that it is across the board.
Yeah.
That's where I get to walk women through, because as moms and wives, he took something practical like cleaning the house, which we all can relate to,
Yeah.
and he made it into a program of coaching. So
That's
that's
cool.
what I'm doing.
That's cool. And where do they find that?
That you can, ladybellator.com is where that you'll find links to the podcast. You'll find, yes, we're just getting on there, because I've been doing a lot of organic launching. And then Eileen Noyes on Facebook, you'll see different things there. But we'll definitely have that on ladybellator.com.
Okay, and we'll put those in the show notes too.
Awesome.
But yeah, it's ironically, I just had hip surgery September 3rd.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How's it?
Replacement. It's a grind. I had a torn labrum. It was a bucket tear over the whole top of the friggin' thing, and so I'm still in physical. I was in physical therapy this morning. It's like, man, this is rough.
Yeah. So wait, you said September though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
so
been a couple months.
I don't know what you did, but for me, I got it done 2 years ago. I got it done, I believe, December 19th. And by December 23rd, I was like in my kitchen. I was still guiding myself, but I mean, I was like cooking and getting everything prepped. And but it was the best. It was the best thing for me.
That's good.
Yeah. So
that's cool. Yeah, very cool. That's just funny, interesting. So, and then talk to us about the 2 books for a minute. So
the first book, Sideline No More. So both of these books are right here. Sideline No More was, okay, I'll say this. So when I love to write, and I've always loved to do that. And so when God gave me the green light, I assumed it was going to be a memoir of what happened and all the good things that he did through the hard stuff. And he's like, nope, you're writing to these professional athlete wives. And he wanted me, he said, if you come too hard and too strong, you're going to freak him out, because with what I went through, was a lot of spiritual warfare, things like that. Yeah. And so he wanted me to approach him in a way where I can build trust. And so this first book, it literally says helping pro athlete wives get off the bench to live their God-given purpose. And so I address identity as a wife stepping into that world. I talk about relationship with their spouse. I talk about family expectations, the different stresses. I talk about my lack of purpose. I had a shopping addiction because I lost my purpose and I lost sight of who I was. And then the identity as both the husband and wife transition out of the game. And that's where I know that there's a part of what I went through had to do with that identity crisis in my ex, to find a cult like this, which, if I can just, that environment that he was looking for was like a warped familiarity to the NFL, because it's about the respect of man and pulling yourself by your bootstraps and polygamy. I mean, not polygamy, but like having a lot of all those things. I mean, that's just a different dynamics. But so I talk about all that, and I leave it with the identity of both of them, and how community is so important. And so when I wrote this book, people were it was just like people who were my friends that read it, both men and women. They're like, oh my gosh, it's not just for pro athlete wives. So the second book came out of that. And so I thought it was just going to be a couple of different intro paragraphs that we're going to change, but God's like, nope, a lot of it's the same. But he changed analogies so that it's more like the first book is, I talk about, there's 5 things. There were just football analogies. And so the second book, Lady Bellator, lady meaning authority, royalty. So she is a co-heir with Christ. So it's the authority piece. Bellator in Latin means warrior. And so those 2 is what he gave me. And so I really hone in on who she is. And so those, those analogies that were once football were now, the helmet of salvation, the breastplate of righteousness. So I'm talking about the spiritual weapons of warfare. So that's what the second book was, but changing out chapters that it's talking about kids and legacy. And so, so a lot of the same, but it's just kind of an expanded version outside of NFL life or pro athlete life.
Very cool. So what is funniest parenting moment.
Funniest parenting moment. Oh my gosh. I mean, I just think the stories, they're just across the board. You know, I wish, I don't want someone to take my idea, but I just think that they're just different things to me that I just think are so funny. Just the different things that they say, the different quotes that they say that just stick. And I would love to make a sweatshirt for each kid that had that saying that they said, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, like my little guy, he's a hoot. He'll just say things like, I was working out and he says, Mom, even though you look fat, you're not fat. You're like, he's like, it's just all the pregnancies. And I'm like, okay, thanks a lot, guys. Just things like that. And they've all had different, just different quotes. But I don't know. I mean, gosh, there's so many. When I have that many, there's just a lot.
There's definitely
a lot of funny things. So I do love being a mom, though.
Yeah. So other than Isaiah's 26:3, which I love that verse, what's another favorite verse of yours?
Oh, I had addressed one already. I don't even know where it is, but it does say, give these things to God and he will protect and keep those things. I don't know where that is. Another one for me, and for sure in parenting and in life, is 2 Corinthians 3:18. So it started out with the root of really needing to know that I was created in the image of God, because I was trying to reason that. And whenever I had arguments with my ex, it was trying to come logically, like, okay, so what do my kids, half image of God, half not, just that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And I remember reading the scripture. I probably read it before. 2 Corinthians 3:18. It says, we all with unveiled face are becoming more like the image of God, going from glory to glory. Amen. And so for sure, that first time I was like, oh, we all, right? I was stuck on that. That's all I needed to hear. But going from glory to glory means level to next level. Like God is not ever done with us. So it's whether it's promotion or just, trials build character so that we're becoming stronger. We're never done. And so to see it like that, it's like, oh God, like, okay, until you take me, I'm going to keep growing, which means there's going to be growing pains, but there's going to be so much good. And, God's wisdom it's just, he's so big. I don't know. Yeah. He's just amazing.
For sure. Any other thoughts you want to share?
Oh, I really am encouraged by what you're doing. And that's a hard space. I definitely know that I would say, I don't know, you know better than me, but fostering, that is it's such an honor that you would do that. And you are a foster kid, right?
Yeah. I was a foster kid. I was adopted.
Yeah. I mean, that God will honor that, because it's a hard place. I know I can definitely, that is probably harder than adoption and stepchildren. That is a whole other dynamics. I'm sure I can't understand, but I don't know. I feel like it's safe to say that's
yeah, it is definitely a challenge. I will say that. And that, again, that's part of the reason for the podcast was, building that community and that connection to folks that understand and have things to say and share and things like that. So, man, I really appreciate you reaching out. And guys, we'll put links to Eileen's website and books and all that kind of stuff down in the show notes. I really enjoyed our conversation. I love your rootedness in Christ and in this relationship, and being that woman of God that has so much to give to a family. It's just in my opinion, it's just so critical.
Yeah, for sure. And that's And that's what I want a woman to see. I will say this, I had the privilege of going to Colombia, and, part missions, part, fun trip. And I remember seeing all these kids, and there was such joy in their hearts, right? And it was just like, man, there's just the simplicity and the innocence that I pray stays there. Then I looked at the moms, and I saw how weary they looked, and it just broke my heart, because that's a woman who doesn't know. I mean, for sure, like, I know that there's different struggles, but that's the devil's lie, is to not only moms, I'm sure dads too, but to distract us, to discourage us, to get our eyes off of the beauty and the honor of raising our kids. I mean, that's just such an important thing, and one that the world, you won't hear from the world. You won't hear it. And so thank you again. I really appreciate what you do, and we're gonna keep doing this stuff.
Yeah, and I appreciate it. Guys, again, we'll put links down in the show notes to connect with Eileen. And again, thank you so much to Matt over at Creative Coffee. Sorry, let me find it. Where did I put it? Golden Creation Coffee. Super, super, super yummy. And so thanks, guys. And next week, we're going to have... her name is Donna Pope. She's the executive director of Heart to Heart Adoption. She has run that agency for 25 years and seen thousands of kiddos adopted. And so we're gonna have her on next week. Thank you guys, and tune in next time.